Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, and yep, back with another top 10 slash top 5 video, and of course this being a top 5 video, and yes, this is my top 5 favorite X-Men films, and still, in celebration of the release of Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness, and because we all know there's a bit of mutants that are going to be in Doctor Strange 2, specifically, of course, Charles Xavier. So, the last top 5 that came out earlier today was, of course, the top 5 X-Men characters I would like to see in the MCU. So I felt that, yeah, why not? I should do a top 5 favorite X-Men films. And yeah, X-Men I absolutely love, because it was one of the first Marvel heroes, and movie-wise that I grew up watching, and that I got to know so well, and in the early 2000s, from them to Spider-Man and Fantastic Four, and a little bit of Hulk as well. So, with no time to waste, let's dive right into my top 5 favorite X-Men films. X2, X-Men United. This is a pretty good X-Men film, and everybody considers this the best X-Men film, I suppose. I do have a soft spot for it. I really do like X-Men 2. I mean, really, it is called X-Men 2, even though that it is titled X2, X-Men United. Just, you can just call it X-Men 2 and something to it. I don't know. But anyways, there's a lot to it, and especially since in the X-Men trilogy, this is the only X-Men film that's over, 2 hours long, basically. And with new faces that come in this film, from Nightcrawler to the main villain, Stryker, and even though, yeah, we do get, say, Magneto and Mystique, they're not really, say, the main villains of this film. They do a few bad villainish things here and there, especially at the end of the film. But the main villain, of course, is Stryker. He is the main focus of this film. And him just coming in and kidnapping and invading the X-Mansion, kidnapping a few X-Men students, and, Stryker was responsible for the creation of Wolverine with the silver claws, and in fact, another, villainous mutant under, mind control of Stryker, with the claws and such to the fingers. Really awesome. Charles Xavier being kidnapped, and, same goes for Cyclops. They're both kidnapped. And Jason, taking control of Charles Xavier, planning to kill, the mutants. But yet Magneto, at the end of the film, he kind of changes that around. He has, Charles kill the humans, because, well, that's the thing. Magneto's hatred for humans, basically. Other things about this film, okay, we get the appearance of, Pyro, of course, and with also that sequence with Bobby / Iceman, his family, not very comfortable with him being a mutant and so on, even when his own brother called the police on him and the others. Also, because, and scenes with Nightcrawler were pretty awesome, and Alan Cummings, he does a spot-on job as Nightcrawler. He fit that role like a glove. I feel like that, yeah, his role is very underrated, but he was great. He was fantastic. Not to mention that opening scene of that film where he invades, he's going around the White House, and that Beethoven music, you name it. It's fantastic. And even when, say, at the end of the film, Charles Xavier and all the other X-Men heroes, they convince the president that not all mutants are bad. And of course that does work. And especially, most notably, Jean Grey sacrificing herself to save the others, and her sacrificing herself, she drowns, and yet, at the end of the film, it is teased that for the next X-Men film, we get the Dark Phoenix, and thus, we would lead to, X-Men The Last Stand. But anyways, so to wrap things up, and in closing, X2, X-Men United, is a good X-Men film, and everybody considers it, the best X-Men film, and I can't deny that, But anyways, so that's my number 5 choice, my number 5 favorite X-Men film, X2, X-Men United. X-Men Days of Future Past. Okay, I'd say that, this is another great X-Men film, right next to, say, X2, X-Men United, and as well as, like, say, First Class, etc. X-Men Days of Future Past was, I think everybody was very hyped for this, and it was a big X-Men film for sure. It had almost everybody in it, from the cast of the X-Men trilogy to the cast who play the younger self, the younger versions of the characters, I should say, you know, since X-Men First Class. Of course, yeah, because things are not looking so good in the future, and the last remaining surviving mutants, you know, and, you know, Wolverine is sent back in time to stop Raven slash Mystique because she's the cause of changing the future and killing Peter Dinklage's character. Yeah, with Wolverine going back in time, he meets up with young Charles, young Hank McCoy slash Beast, and they free Eric slash Magneto out of prison, and also Quicksilver joining in. And yeah, that's another thing too. Like, Quicksilver was pretty good in this. In fact, yeah, that infamous sequence where everything's like kind of slowing down, and you know he like fixes everything up, like the bullets, and like one officer like punching himself, I guess, and like giving one police officer a wedgie, I think, yeah. And the song "If I Could Save Time from a Bar" that fits so well. Also with Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen returning, as well as Halle Berry, Bobby, and you know, what's her face, Ellen, you know, Elliot Page. Yeah, it was great seeing them again too. And not to mention, we also have the Rogue cut, which, yeah, we get a lot of, say, Rogue, you know, played by Anna Paquin. Because she's in this. She is in this quite a little bit, you know, a lot. You know, she has dialogue and so on. And, yeah, even when, like, say, the climax, you know, and, like, Magneto, brings, like, a whole football stadium and puts it, like, around the White House, basically, or, you know, whatever it is. And, you know, Charles manages to stop and convince Raven slash Mystique, you know, that not the entire mutant race is the enemy. And also, like, that moment where both young and old Charles Xaviers meet, you know, and, you know, the old Charles does convince his younger self, you know. That was a pretty good scene, you know, and I just like how, you know, they when they first talk to each other, you know, Charles, makes sense, you know. And I especially like that one scene where, you know, when older Magneto, Ian McKellen, he is wounded, he has a bit of, like, a conversation with Charles, you know, all those years fighting, you know, because he realizes that, you know what was the point of just fighting and so on, you know. Yeah, and everything does work out when, you know, even though, yeah, because she does have the gun pointed at Peter Dinklage, she does drop it, and that changes the future. And even, like, Peter Dinklage, you know, his character does get arrested, even realizing that he was this greedy, like, evil guy, you know, and what he was doing to mutants, basically. Yeah, and it has a happy ending to it. Everything is restored. All characters are alive and well, and we see them all in the X-Mansion, even from, say, you know, Storm, because earlier Storm was killed at one point, but she's okay. And even, say, Scott Summers and Jean Grey, they're all right too. And even, like, Logan telling Charles Xavier that everything has been restored, and yeah, even Charles realizes this too, and he says, you know, welcome back. And the ending to it, like, yeah, like, back in, like, say, the 70s, because that's where Logan time traveled to, well, and actually, yeah, because I forget how it goes, like, because he went to his young, like, to himself in the 70s. I know what it is I'm trying to say, but, you know, I'm not going to go into full detail. You know, he is recovered after he was thrown into the ocean by Magneto after, like, armor just, like, went around his body. God, that's painful. But he survives with the help of Raven slash Mystique. And, yeah, but in closing, X-Men Days of Future Past was a good X-Men film for sure. And for it being my number 4 favorite X-Men film. Logan. Yes, number 3 being Logan. I absolutely love Logan. It's a good film of, you know, Wolverine, and because, you know, it is X-Men, so, you know. Everything about this is really good, and because it takes place many years into the future, like, say, I think the setting is, 2029, what's going on during that time? Well, there's not a lot of mutants, and, like, they've almost gone to extinct, I guess, and, like, the X-Men is, like, no more, and, and also, because, with Hugh Jackman once again reprising the role of Logan/Wolverine one last time, and Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier. I'm telling you, they were both fantastic in this, and what's been going on with Charles in this film, like, he's not doing so great. In fact, he sometimes has seizures, and Stephen Colbert, if I'm saying his last name right, his appearance in this, he's like this albino mutant who's allergic to the sunlight, and there's also Laura. We get the appearance of Laura, played by Daphne Keane. She was fantastic in this, for sure. Her performance, her rage, like, throughout most of the film, she doesn't have dialogue, like, not until a little bit later on in the film, like, just her, like, screaming and, like, fighting and so on, and her claws, like, okay, we know that Logan, of course, like, has three of these, but Laura just has 2, and actually she has some on her feet too. I think has 1 claw to her foot, and Laura was fantastic in this, and not to mention when like Charles comforting her, and also like the bad guys in this, like, I know that, Richard E. Grant being one of the villains, and, like, these guys that were, like, tracking down, trying to hunt down Logan, Charles, and Laura, they were evil, and not to mention they had already kidnapped some of the mutants, or actually those that did escape, as I recall, and, especially because the violence in this, the goriness, like, okay, with Logan killing the bad guys with his claws, like, in this, like, God, he really likes we really see this, like, say, to the mouth, and just, wow. And even, like, say, decapitating, like, that's there, too. Wow. Well, yeah, and, like, the intention of it being rated R, that's for sure. But anyways, and even when, say, there's a lot, because some cussing in it, like, okay, like, Logan really, like, for sure uses the F-bomb a lot, and even, like, say, like, in First Class, when he had one line, and of course, go F yourselves, that was the only line he had. So, at least, with PG-13 films, they would at least have one use of an F-bomb, so I do recall. Those that have sort of, like, the young mutants that have escaped, and, they join in the battle, taking on the bad guys, and even when near the end of the film, Logan, he does die, and even when, say, there was a clone of Logan, actually, and he was defeated too. Actually, he was shot in the head. That's how he was killed. And the ending, like, Logan's death scene was very emotional, and even when one of the last words he says, so this is what it feels like. Like, he was feeling death, basically, and God, it hits you right there. And, and another thing is, because Laura is the daughter of Logan, so, and thus, it's Laura and the kid mutants that, they're on their own, and thus a new generation of mutants, an X-Men, basically. And I just like how, with Logan's grave, like, there's the cross, but Laura kind of, like, changes it by, positioning it in a different position, which makes an X. And did I mention that, even Charles Xavier, he sadly got killed too by Logan's clone. And it's just heart-wrenching when even Logan sees Charles, like, stabbed, and, he says, it wasn't me. Very emotional for this being, Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart's last time playing their roles. Or so we think. Like, come on, we're having Doctor Strange 2, and the possibility of Hugh Jackman showing up, like, he would only reprise the role of Wolverine if, say, there'd be a crossover with his character in Deadpool. The door is wide open for that, for sure. But in closing, Logan is, without a doubt, a brilliant X-Men film by James Mangold. Am I saying his name right? The director of the film. He did a spot-on job with this, and not to mention that he did direct the Wolverine. So, So before Logan, he directed the Wolverine. So so it was great having him back direct this. So anyway, so in closing, Logan is my favorite X-Men film, like for it being number 3. Yes, my number 3 favorite X-Men film. X-Men from 2000. Yes, this is my number 2 favorite X-Men film. And actually, this is the first, I guess the only and first X-Men film to have an original story, not be based off of anything from the X-Men comics. And for this being the first ever X-Men film and what made comic book films really good again, it has a good story to it. The characters are fantastic. You know, Hugh Jackman's debut as Wolverine. In fact, every character in this, played by their actors are, the actors in this are the first ever actors to play the characters in live action, and they're all fantastic. And with, say, Charles Xavier, Magneto, and with the other villains, Sabretooth, Toad, and, and also Rogue being heavily involved in this, and, Magneto captures Rogue for his evil plan and so on. And some cool fighting action sequences too, from Wolverine versus Mystique to Toad fighting off against Jean and Storm, the battle and such going on the Statue of Liberty between Wolverine and Sabretooth. It's just so fantastic. I could go on. Not to mention, I feel like mentioning this one blooper with somebody dressed up as Spider-Man.
Wait! I am completely in the wrong movie.
That was pretty funny. Definitely pretty funny right there. Some like cool, tense scenes, like, especially I like that sequence where they're at, the Grand Central Station, and when Magneto, this stops the police, and, Charles Xavier controls Sabretooth and Toad's minds, and Magneto almost about to kill one police officer. Of course, he does stop, Charles Xavier stops, and so on. And, even Senator Keeley becoming a mutant, thanks to Magneto. And I do recall, Stan Lee's cameo as well. That was pretty funny. But yeah, in closing, X-Men from 2000 was so fantastic. It is my number 2 favorite X-Men film, definitely. And again, this is what started it all for the X-Men films and making comic book films really good again. And my number 1 favorite X-Men film is X-Men Last Stand. Yes, this is my number 1 favorite X-Men film. And I've talked about it in so many details so far, and yeah, I just love X-Men Last Stand. I know that it's mutual for this movie. There are some people that do and do not like this. For me, I'm one of those people that do like this. I like the concept of the story, the whole thing of curing mutants, and there are those that are against this cure, But, of course, the X-Men, the good guys, they're not so sure about the cure, but not in the way, say, how Magneto and all the other evil mutants are, And Magneto creates the Brotherhood by gathering a bunch of mutants that are really against the cure. And of course, Pyro alongside with Magneto, new villains like, say, Juggernaut and, Jean Grey, who joins Magneto because, she comes back and can't control her powers. She accidentally kills Scott Summers, the man she loved, and she kills Charles Xavier, 2 major characters killed, and yet Cyclops barely had anything. Also, Kelsey Grammer as Beast. He was fantastic, definitely. And also Ben Foster as Angel, and also, a few other characters that barely have anything to do in this. Rogue had some part of it, she was really thinking of getting the cure, and of course, she does. And also, Elliot Page, who's in this, she was pretty good too, and even Rogue a bit jealous between, her and Bobby, and even I like how Magneto, he does, really he misses Charles Xavier, and even he sets Pyro straight about Charles Xavier, after what Pyro said something about Charles, and Magneto just snapped at Pyro. Even Wolverine, so much to the character of Wolverine and Storm, and, you know, and also this one kid who is the source of the cure, of curing mutants. Yeah, him. And especially, again, that one line that Juggernaut says that, you know, everybody still remembers this.
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
Yeah, I once again had to play that clip. And cool visuals and action sequences, like one of my favorites, Magneto, you know, destroying and lifting the Golden Gate Bridge. That was really cool, and to think that was, some of that was practical. And so was a little bit of, say, the, like, what's going on in Jean Grey's house, you know, the fight and so on. That was practical. Like, I guess, yeah, the house floating, so. But, yeah, I could go on, but to just, in closing and to wrap things up, X-Men The Last Stand is, without a doubt, my all-time favorite X-Men film. Definitely. For it being my #1.
Hello, Moira.
So in conclusion, and with all that being said, this has been my top 5 favorite X-Men films. I think this was a pretty good idea doing this. And again, this is for, you know, in celebration of the release of Doctor Strange 2, and because we're getting a little bit of mutants, you know, stuff like that in Doctor Strange 2. Again, as I've said before, you know, Charles Xavier and maybe the possibility of Wolverine or Deadpool. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But I hope you all enjoyed this top 5 list and the top 5 list of, you know, the X-Men characters I would love to see in the MCU. I hope you enjoyed both of those, and for in celebration of the release of Doctor Strange 2, and of course, yep, you know, like me and many others, I am planning to see Doctor Strange 2, not for long. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video /top 10/top 5. Take care, and peace out. X-Men assemble.